Scot Scala, President and Senior Consultant at Scala & Associates, is with us today from Hartford, Connecticut. Morning, Scott.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here. Thanks for coming and spending a few minutes with us. I understand you just got done teaching a session here at the conference.
Just came out of the session a little while ago.
Okay.
It was entitled Taking the Plunge, what everybody must know about entering the consulting business.
Oh, you know what? We got to talk about that. But before we do that, let's kind of set the stage a little bit for everybody that's seeing this that hasn't met you yet. Tell me about your consulting practice, what you're doing, kind of your background in the fundraising grants field.
Sure. Well, I've been in the industry, the development fundraising industry, for about 21 years. And we've had our consulting business, it'll be 5 years very soon, and we concentrate on just a few select areas. First of all, we have a home base in the Hartford, Connecticut region, and then a satellite office in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
We primarily provide services in the grant-related field, so that's grant research, proposal development, reporting. We will be main key administrators for the grant process for some organizations, soup to nuts, if they want that level of service. Beyond that, we work a great deal with boards, board training, board education. We have a great emphasis on communications, working with the press and media, and also do capacity building and fund development planning.
Okay. And where were you before Scala & Associates, where were you?
17 years working for other people, mostly in higher education.
Okay.
I had a career with Rutgers University and also one of the state universities of New York State, which is where I'm from originally, New York State. And then for a social service agency at the very end of my career. What led me into business, although I had been thinking about it for a number of years, is that we took a job to move us from Florida to Connecticut, where we were living at the time in 2003. After taking that job in Connecticut, I found myself out of work. They had cut about a third of the staff. This was now 2004. And I thought, you know what, now's the time to fulfill this dream I've been putting off all these years, and here it is now, 2011, and there is no turning back.
How about that? So you took the plunge.
I took the plunge.
And today you're talking to other people about taking the plunge, so talk to us about that. I know we have many people I've met at this conference and in other meetings that dream of the exact same dream you have, that you're living. That they've come out of major institutions, maybe smaller nonprofits, but they aspire to have the lifestyle of being self-employed. Man, how do you pull it off?
Well, it's very scary for a lot of people, and it was very scary for me the first year. And I made a few mistakes along the way. But I think how you pull it off is you really must set that goal. For me, it was really all or nothing, because I knew that I did not want to go back to putting my career, my life, my paycheck into the hands of someone else anymore. I really had enough.
Yep.
And I knew I could do this better on my own. It is not for everybody, but it is for me. And when I decided that started the momentum. And I took on a couple of clients. I had 2 signed contracts early on, so I used those as the catalyst for building my business. And then over the period of a year or 2, business built up to the point where I needed to hire another person to work with me. And that's when I initially hired a former journalist with the Hartford Courant, our main newspaper in Connecticut, and she's with me still today. Shortly after bringing her on board, I spoke to my wife and I said, you know, you're in cosmetic sales, I know you enjoy it, but would you think about working with me? Here are the things that I think you could do for me and the clients we serve in our business. And she said yes, fortunately, and she works side by side with me in this crazy business to this day. And then about a year and a half ago, we hired yet another person to work with us. So now we're 4, and we're very busy.
Okay.
Thank God.
Yeah, good. And the initial clients, how did you get them? Did you go out and knock on doors? Did you make phone calls? Did you go to networking meetings?
Once I was in the throes of building the business, I told everybody. I let everyone know that I was doing this. I had nothing to lose, all to gain.
Kind of like raising money, you got to ask people.
You have to.
Yes.
You won't get what you don't ask for. So I let all of the colleagues that I knew and friends, associates know that I was doing this. And one of the organizations I had been previously affiliated with hired me. And that turned out to be a 2 to 3 year commitment. Then I worked with a school district for a short period of time, and that led to other things. It's almost a domino effect. One thing leads into the next, and now we have over 20 clients, and many of whom we work with simultaneously. Yes, there are peaks and valleys, but it's always been pretty consistent. But you have to have a mindset of not just working the work that's involved with providing the service to the clients, but always working your business. Yeah. It's a constant battle to continue to market and really drive your business in the direction you want it to go.
Did you have any books or resources or speakers or thought leaders who you paid particular attention to in the beginning, who kind of led your mind down that path of building the business? Because that's what I think most entrepreneurs face is, they gain a technical skill and they decide they want to become self-employed, but they don't know that not only do you have to be technically skilled, but you have to be a business person. So that business person side of it, when people maybe don't know what that is, how do they investigate that?
Well, actually, I'm glad you asked that, because that's one of the topics I cover in my presentation, which is you want to really get in front of as many consultants as you can early on. You want to look at their styles, look at their ways of doing business, get an understanding of what moves them, and cull from that the best qualities. I'm not saying that make them your own, but what I am saying is try to learn from them. I also joined very early on GPA, Grant Professional Association, with them today, and I'll be with them for years to come, because they're a very valuable asset to me and my business. Also the Association of Fundraising Professionals and many other associations out there to serve people in our field. I also really studied two people in particular. About 4 or 5 years ago, I attended a workshop in Dallas put on by a woman named Andrea Nierenberg, who is out of Manhattan. And she is a marketing specialist. And she really taught me that we can get past this fear and move on to promoting and working and building a business that's largely based on us, ourselves. With a woman named Laura Fredericks. Laura Fredericks is really the master of asking for the gift and how to identify and cultivate those gifts. And those are two people in particular that I never hesitate to mention, because they're very well known across the world. These are women who have a great footprint in terms of their work, and I keep in touch with them on a regular basis, and I think that's something that every consultant needs to do, is find like-minded people. Yes, at different levels, but find like-minded people and continue to work and collaborate with them and learn from them.
Yeah, and so GPA is certainly one place to get that. I know that I've personally, in just the past few days of being at this conference, my professional growth has been extraordinary. And I thought I knew a lot, but I find out I don't know very much at all.
It's very humbling.
It is, exactly. It's good. It's a good word for it. I might also throw out, early in my career, I consulted with the Service Corps of Retired Executives at the Small Business Development Center at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. It's a group of business people that are retired executives, and they volunteer and they provide guidance. But that was pre-internet, so maybe there's other people out there today that you mentioned, for example, that can help.
My advice is plain and simple: turn over every stone, open every door, walk through every door until you have a reason to go back.
Okay.
Because that is what's helped to build my business, my career. You have to always be thinking that way.
Yeah. And what would you, tough question here, I know, but if you had to guess or maybe even hallucinate a survivability rate of people that go off on their own, do you think fundraising or grants specifically is any different than any other business?
Well, I think consulting in general, regardless of what you're consulting in, is difficult because it is largely based on what you bring to the table. And in Connecticut, in the Northeast, I happen to know for a fact that there are many consultants who, whether they've been in business for a couple of years or 20 years, they're not cutting it. And they're taking now traditional jobs. Nothing wrong with it, but their intent was to build a consulting business, and they weren't able to do it. So as much as you do the work for the clients, you have to always, daily, be working your business.
And are you pursuing any sort of diversification strategies or tactics that you can disclose and talk about that might take you in directions with the same core services but in just different applications of your expertise?
Well, we're not looking to branch beyond the services we provide. We provide 5 services, and we're very comfortable with those, although I've been asked to do other things, and I don't think more is more. I think less is more. So to answer your question, I would say that you have to really look at every networking opportunity out there. GPA is a wonderful opportunity to mix and mingle and network and learn from other people who are doing similar work. Start at home, start looking at what's closest to you. We have a lot of resources in Hartford, and I try to tap into as many of them as I can, and then beyond that look regionally and nationally. So again, it really is going through all those doors and uncovering many things.
And the GPA, just so everybody knows, and I think most of the people watching this video have watched other videos in this series, but you can find them on the web at grantprofessionals.org.
Right.
Annual membership is what, $175?
$175.
Okay. And I would consider that the best best investment you could probably make as a grants professional.
Well, I can tell you, Rod, I've secured clients as a result of the referrals I get from being on the GPA online directory.
Really?
Yes, which is incorporated into
Yes.
your membership fee.
Yeah, and we regularly refer people there because that's not what we do. We're strictly training,
Right.
a training company, and so we regularly send people over there for consultants. So I'm glad to hear that actually works. So.
No question about it.
All right. One of the other questions I've become fond of asking as we were tailing off these interviews is, it seems like everybody has in their career, especially in fundraising, where so much of our work is service-driven and causally driven, a shining moment. Just one moment that, man, 20 years from now, when you're sitting in a rocking chair watching the sunset, you're going to think back and go, man, that was the golden moment of my career right there. Have you had one of those moments yet? If so, would you share with us what it was?
I think a couple of things come to mind. When I landed my very first client, signed that very first contract, I thought, okay, I'm on my way. And frankly, the fact that I'm sitting here 5 years later and talking about still being in business and that we're growing in a very difficult economy, that to me is a milestone. Every year that I remain in business, as far as I'm concerned, is a milestone.
And one thing that's unique also to you and to me is that we're both in business with our spouses.
Yes.
And that's working out well for you. It's working out well. It seems like a good match. It may not work for everybody. I guess we could agree on that, huh?
It works out great for us. My wife was certainly independent and had a career of her own, but as I mentioned earlier, started working with me about a year after we started the business, which was 2007. And I think what makes it work is that she has her responsibilities. I have my responsibilities. And there are certain areas of crossover. And that's what makes it work. There's very little gray area. So my wife Tracy is very capable and very willing and able to work in the field with her clients, and she does a great job at it. She's really dynamic and probably the best asset I could have in business.
All right. Scot Scala, you're a real inspiration. I know you're a role model for what so many people want to do. There are so many people here talking about making the transition, and I know you're a shining example of what's possible.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being here. Everybody, thanks for watching.